Hey guys, I think I'm up and running. Hold on, real quick. Let me check on my signal here, real quick. See if that's true. We'll get to work here this morning. Good morning. Hey, let's see. Let's go to my channel and see if we have gone live yet or not. Mic check. Mic check. 1, 2, 3. See if we have. Yeah, that sounds nice and strong. Cool. Let's drop that down. Hey, we're working on Bastions again. Bastions is currently my favorite project. I stream 10 times per week, Monday through Friday, and I'm looking off to the side here because I'm working with stuff on my screen. So, but Monday through Friday in the mornings, we work on artwork for the Ebron campaign, the Ebron adventure that we're publishing on DMsGuild, Crystals of Mabar. On Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Fridays, 3 of 4 of those days, we'll hold on, pressing buttons. We'll do game design, and then Thursday night and Saturday morning, like today, we do game design as well. And I've been, while we're working on the Ebron adventure in the morning as my primary project, we're also working on a Spelljammer subclasses book and a Spelljammer Mecha Kaiju book. We're working on the Martial Powers project, which is currently in playtesting, so I don't really design that much right now. We're just testing to see if it's properly cooked or not. And so that happens on Monday nights, so if you're interested, you can join my Discord channel and get onto the roster of playtesters if you're interested. And then also working on updating all of the color mana systems for the Magic the Gathering color mana system that replaces Vancian magic and the 8 schools of magic that are typical to Dungeons and Dragons. Since Wizards owns both D&D and MTG, you can have a color mana system in D&D and be able to publish that through like Ravnica, Strixhaven, Theros, and all the plane shift PDFs on DMsGuild. It works great. I've been using it for years, and we're updating all of that for 2024. Hey Steve, what's going on? That's also going to include we already have the Point Warlocks published. We have the Knights and Tricksters published. We have the Elemental Key book published, which is a 4-element system instead of the 5-color system, which replaces the 8 schools of magic system that's in the player's handbook. So we have the 4 elements, the 5 colors, and the 8 schools. Use whichever paradigm you want. That's great. The spell point system we use works for all 3 of them. So we already have the spell point sorcerer and Knights and Tricksters. We're also going to, on top of republish all the core mechanics books for the color magic system, we're also going to have spell point sorcerers and spell point artificers. I may end up with a specialist book for each grouping, like artificers, sorcerers. We could end up I don't know, maybe I'll do, I don't see much reason to do like a wizard or druid or cleric book yet, but I am interested in Theros. Theros has 15 gods that are connected to the combinations of colors. There's primaries that are 1 color each, white, blue, black, red, green. And then there's 10 demigods that are color combos like white, blue, green, red, whatever. The color arrays that you have in Ravnica and Strixhaven are also in Theros. And the Theros card deck, sorry, this is a tangent. The Theros card deck, or the cards for the Theros setting in Magic the Gathering, they have this idea about, they call it devotion. The more cards on the table that have little color symbols, you add up all the color symbols, and that equals your devotion. And the gods in the Theros deck have trigger conditions based on how much devotion the board has to that color at the time. And so and basically what it is like you have like this aura enchantment effect that affects the game in general. But once you get to a certain amount of devotion, instead of being an enchantment, it actually manifests as a creature, like a physical presence on the battlefield, as an avatar of that god. There's neat ideas inside of the D&D game space using the color mana system where you could use renown or piety as your devotion mechanic. The more renown or piety you have, we'll just call it renown in general, but the more renown you have with a specific god, you can then spend a resource like hit dice or mana from your mana pool once the martial power system goes live. But whatever your level of renown with that god's standing is, you can then manifest that god as a conjured creature, matching the level. Like divide your renown by 3 equals effective spell level for conjuring your god as an avatar to basically transform you paladin style into like it. You operate inside of this. Like the Conjure Elemental spell is a great example of this. It creates this zone of damage or magical effects to anything that's inside of it. And these god auras through renown can be converted into that spell-like effect. So you could have a very low-level creature have a very high level of devotion and be able to crack out dangerous spell effects at a pretty high-level team, even though they might be able to one-shot the priest that's generating that effect. Those effects could also be generated by, like, say, locations or traps or even gems that you have that are devoted to a color that could, like, pop and trigger this god aura effect. So that's one way we can take this idea of clerics, but that's not really dependent on being a cleric. It's just these are some of the ideas that you can do with mana, taking the MTG narrative and card mechanics and then converting them into 5e. I spend a lot of time doing that. It's one of my side design things that we're doing. But Bastions is the other thing that we're doing. So just to close the loop on my intro here before we get to work for the day. Let me fix my screens here. And so I'm on the X Twitter platform. If you are as well, I'm at Phil Kearney. You can check out artwork that I've done, works in progress, coupons to different projects that I've done. I'll have Kickstarters on here in the future. So jump on board at Phil Kearney here on YouTube. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon for notifications of when we're live in the future, of course. Here's the full playlist of the Bastion system so far. Here's a live stream playlist, and here is the document that we're working inside of. It's a Google Doc. It's look, don't touch. It's read only for you guys. Obviously, I'll be editing it myself today, but this is the same document that we've been working on here for the past 7 episodes, like maybe 20 hours, like 15 to 20 hours worth of stream time on work on this. But this is curving into the command system that I had worked on pretty much all throughout 2023, like from January, God, was it? Yeah, January 2022 through November 2023, we were designing, myself, Ukulele Bard, Adam Hancock, and Eric Tachuk. We were working on different aspects of this command system where the Bastions is coming from, basically taking downtime activities and boiling it all down to a patterned, consistent scaffold of ability checks. And I've spent a lot of time on all the previous episodes walking through the mechanics. So where our priorities for today is Bastion events and basically solidifying the art of creation or like crafting rules in general. So I'm going to start with crafting rules at the top of the document, and then we're going to come down here and we're going to rebuild Bastion events into categories of complications that can occur while attempting to complete Bastion orders that are issued. So I want to take it back to the top end. Again, you have access to this in full document. I've been playtesting different components of this in my own campaign since February, and everything's coming along really, really nicely. So let's see. Bastions, we have our basic Bastion scaffold. It ranks from 1 to 5. You can gain a Bastion as early as first level. If you want to start, it's a Bastion campaign. The assumption here is that the players control a Bastion, whether it's a guild, a settlement, some sort of shop or business. Whatever the wrappings is, it's a collection of NPCs that basically work together to achieve goals, like advocacy group. It could be a temple, whatever you want. And then the characters that the players have are part of that organization, and you become basically like the fixers or the specialists or or the founders of whatever that bastion is. So you can use both downtime activity and basically off stage activity for you as players to issue orders to the bastion to execute. And while you're doing that, the characters are adventuring, or the idea of the Bastion campaign is as you are achieving goals through your Bastion, when you fail an ability check with your Bastion, it creates a complication that you can then use to frame as a plot hook for your next adventure. And then we divide time up into weeks. So we have days, weeks, seasons, and years are the 4 blocks of time that we use for performing actions with a Bastion. Generally, it defaults to a per week activity, but you can have multiple orders issued at the same time that have different completion times. But the base default assumption is that Bastion turns are every week. So when you have a plot, when you have an adventure that was created by a complication in your Bastion, basically it's like, hey, what went wrong last week, or what's going wrong right now, what die roll failed, and thus what complication is created by that. And then your character's job is to resolve that complication. So at the end of the week, your episodic adventure ends, you've cleared that obstacle, and now the Bastion automatically succeeds. It succeeds its check. So, and then you regain, you free up that order, you can issue another order. While you're doing that, like maybe you're making an airship and it's going to take an entire season to do that. Like if you have a third rank Bastion and it's currently building an airship, then that would be one of the orders that you could issue to your Bastion. Build me an airship, and it's going to work on that, and it'll take an entire season to build it. In the meantime, you still have 3 orders that you can issue. It could take a day, like make me a healing potion, like that'll take a day. Or it could be like, I need you to find out everything you can about this demi-plane that we need to assault, for example. That might take a week. It could take a season to figure out, depending on how difficult of a check it is. So you have multiple actions that are happening at the same time. And anytime you fail a die roll, that creates the complication. So you issue the order, you make the die roll, and you know it's either going to execute at the end of that time frame, or it's going to have a complication during that time frame. So you have, if it takes a season, you have basically an entire season to resolve that complication for that order to be issued and completed in that time frame. If you don't, then the order you either ditch the order and you failed, so you just get your order back and you ditch that task and you start something else, or that order basically is held in suspension and you can't use that order again until you resolve the conflict. The complication. So that's the basic structure of it. And this is how a campaign is built, that you're constantly having new orders that you're issuing to your Bastion, and they're either succeeding them in advancing whatever goal you're pushing through your Bastion to achieve, or you run into complications that are preventing you from achieving that goal, and then you activate your characters to go in as an adventure to resolve what that conflict was. And you can have multiple groups of characters, even West March style, where the collective West March team are issuing orders to the Bastion, and whenever a problem queues up, one of the West March teams will claim one of those complications as their own problem to deal with, and then you just schedule time with the DM to run that adventure, and success or failure, whatever, escalate the Bastion. So you could run an entire West March campaign off of that, or you could have just your own dedicated team that you play with each week, and they could have multiple teams that can deal with different threats. So like if there's like 2 complications in this week that I want to resolve, but I want to role play both of them with different teams. Like I can only do one per team because I only have a 1 week window of time, and basically you have that one adventure per turn. But if you have multiple teams, like this week, quote unquote, this current session, we're going to work on this adventure and resolve that. At the same time, in another part of the world, we're resolving another adventure with a different team. And then at the end of the week, if we succeeded in both tasks, then both of those orders are resolved, and we free that up and we advance our goals together. So you can have multiple teams, either with the same party or different parties, all running at the same time. And there's rival bastions that could be attempting to stop or sabotage your team. So you can develop an entire campaign around it, as guilds, trade houses, shops, settlements, nations, churches, cults, mercenary companies, a faction of a military. You can have all these things as different bastions, and you could have, if you wanted to, you could have just one bastion for the whole team to work on, or as you advance and players like it more and more, you can lean into setting up multiple bastions like as franchises and setting up separate settlements as physical locations represented as their own bastions. And so like you could build Waterdeep as as a 5th rank bastion that holds 1 million people and controls an area of like 100-mile radius around it of farmland. So we can build out anything in the game from a societal structure settlement sort of perspective as this bastion mechanic. And we have the easy resource orders and ability checks to resolve anything that they may be attempting. Let's say the Temple of Cyric is in Waterdeep is attempting to assassinate the or eliminate the Ilmater Church that's in Waterdeep. They're rivals, and so the Cyrics, they want to assassinate and just slaughter everybody in the Ilmater Church. That would then become a sabotage action in order to sabotage that other church. And if that order is successful, the Ilmater Church will have resources depleted from it, and when its resources drain to zero, the church will literally be destroyed, which you could potentially do by like killing everybody in that church and then removing the resources because there's no manpower left to achieve any goals in that church. Or you could just literally burn it to the ground and remove the church from the property. That would leave the people there, and maybe they could take their own knowledge and resources and rebuild someplace else, but that bastion is effectively destroyed. So you can have bastion level ability check interaction at this meta level that allows DMs to kind of advance their campaign and respond in a living world style, on top of the players taking active actions through bastions and characters to impact the environment around them as well. So hopefully that makes sense. That's what it does. I've ran campaigns this way for a number of years. I've only codified it in 2022, 2023. And now that in 2024 we have an actual Bastion system, or what we would have used to call a Dominion game style. Now that Bastions exist in DMG 2024, we can actually codify all this stuff as ability check systems inside the 2024 5e game engine. So that's the crux of it, or the deal of it. It's not a crux. It's that's the boiled down. So there's the DMG established. There are 7 types of orders. And those orders include crafting, empower, harvesting. This is where we're going to poke at right now, the act of creation. So let's grab that, cut that out. And then one of the orders that is issued is maintain. And there's also recruit and research. And trade is the last one. So those are the 7 types of orders that can be issued to your Bastion, and we frame them as proficiencies. So as your Bastion increases in rank, you gain additional proficiencies equal to the number of orders that you can issue. You automatically have maintain. Everyone gets maintain, and then you get another one. So like craft, harvest, empower, trade, recruit, or research. Pick one of those. And by the time you get to 5th rank, you'd have 6 maintain plus 5 more, which means that there's 1 straggler. You can also develop a facility that gives you extra advanced resources so that you can have more proficiencies than you would normally have. Like you could purchase additional proficiencies through resources. So resources is like both a mana pool, and it acts as like concentration. So you can, when you perform, when you're issuing an order to your Bastion, it's an ability check. D20 plus the rank is the basic math that you do to roll to determine if you hit the DC that you need or not. But if you invest resources into that order, you can add like an inspiration die, like a bardic inspiration die. We call it a Bastion die, to increase the result of the ability check. So you can add a die. It's one resource per rank of die, and you have to be of a corresponding rank to use. Like, you have to be a 3rd rank Bastion to use a D8. It'll cost you 3 of the 9 to 15 resources you would have to use that D8, or you could have 3 orders, because a 3rd rank Bastion has 4 orders total. You could use 3 points to instead add a D4 to 3 separate orders. So you can depending on how many resources you have, you can drive or drop the amount of dice that you have. And as like adventuring rewards or temporary bonuses, you can gain resources to expend this Bastion turn to boost dice or whatever. So you can start replacing gold and gems and art and treasure and stuff like that as like loot. You can start replacing that with favors and influence, which converts into resource points. So we're performing this adventure to rescue the king. And if you're successful, you will have for the next season a pool of, say, 10 resources, 10 points of resources that over the next season, your Bastion can spend any way that you want. And a season is 100 days or 3 months. It's approximately, say, 10 to 12 weeks worth of time to perform Bastion tasks involving that kingdom, and you'll get those bonus 10 points because of these declarations from the king to support your efforts in his community, for instance. So those become really neat rewards that you can do. Like if you're trying to recover a sword, and the clan can't afford more than 20 pieces of gold to retrieve that sword, that's the sword is far more expensive than that, but they're a poor clan and they can't afford it. But they will give you they'll treat you as a peasant hero. They'll always give you a place to stay. You can set up a shop there. Maybe they just give you space to start developing inside of that settlement. Maybe you become the next quote unquote heir to take on governorship of that clan's settlement. There's a lot of different ways you can play that, and you can use that as a meta currency instead of treasure that you can gift out, and it just roots your characters more into the game space, and they start taking more ownership of what's happening. So you gain order proficiencies, and then you can spend your resources. As soon as the order is done, you get those resources back to then invest again someplace else. So that's the rotation that happens there. And then we have specific orders that we've built out that allow you, like, if you make an ability check, this is the thing that happens as a result of it. But what I want to do right now is let's skip past specific orders, and we're just going to make a new block inside here, which is, we'll just call it crafting. Let's just do that. So Bastions can be issued orders to create magical and non-magical items for characters to use while adventuring. This is different from creating items to sell for profit. That is resolved through maintaining a lifestyle for your Bastion as detailed below. While the Bastion can potentially stockpile or mass produce any type of item given enough time and resources, Dungeons & Dragons is not intended to simulate world economies. So anything that can be produced by the Bastion is simply narrative for how the Bastion maintains the lifestyle for the characters and hirelings that are part of the Bastion. 3 of the orders that can be issued to Bastions create items. The rank of the Bastion determines the maximum value of gold, or in the case of magic items, the rarity of the item created, as listed below. Additional comments included as needed. So, if we're looking at the Bastion rank, let's reframe this. Let's go with rarity value there. So we'll go with we're going to go with non-magical items. No, let's do it this way. Let's go with consumable magic items, and non-magic items. Those are basically the 3 categories of stuff that you can make. Consumable, magical, and we have a lot of examples already inside this document that you can thumb through, looking at the durations and rarity levels of creating stuff. Like Empower is making magic items. Crafting is generally making stuff with like non-consumable items, and harvesting is generally consumable items. Like if you're crafting stuff, crafting being one of the titles is kind of a misnomer, but yeah, you'd use harvest to like make food or poisons, stuff that's consumable and ingestible, while crafting is generally things that aren't ingestible, and empower is magical items, whether they're ingestible or not. So that's basically how the three things in like vehicles are non-consumable, non-magical items, unless it's like an airship, and an airship would be considered a magical item. A spell jamming helm is a magic item, but the ship that you attach it to doesn't need to be. So you have those fun gray areas that the players and DM can agree with each other, like how is this item classified, and then build accordingly. So let's see, rank 1. How do I want to do this? I think I need to reframe. Let's go with consumable. Actually, let's do it this way. Crafting. Time. Let's do it this way instead. There's day, 1 day, there's 1 week, there's 1 season, and there's 1 year. I'm trying to break down like what's the best way to organize the information so it's just most easily grokked. So let's start here, duration. So a consumable is a common magic item. A consumable common magic item can be crafted in 1 day. That includes basic healing potions and spell scrolls of level cantrip or level 1. Consumable items, it takes 1 week for an uncommon magic item, like spell levels 2 and 3 for a scroll, or whatever's listed as an uncommon potion in the DMG. Then we have rare, and then we have very rare. There are no hold on. Consumable, 1 day, 1 week, 1 season, 1 year. This isn't being done accurately. Do I need to break it? Maybe I need to break this down differently. Common, uncommon. There are no legendary consumable items currently, but there could be. Legendary. A season would be rare, and no, it's how's it go? Hold on. Let's go down to empower and double check our root. Day, week, season. That's right. Day. I'm trying to figure it out. Uncommon. Maybe I need to structure this differently. Let's go with common, uncommon. This is probably a better way of doing it. Rare, very rare, and legendary. I don't know why I'm having so much trouble organizing stuff today, so bear with me. We'll figure it out. Common, uncommon, rare, very rare. Let's see. Rarity and consumable versus magical. That would be 1 day. And if it's a permanent magical item, it would be 1 week to create a common item. If it's uncommon consumable, it would be 1 week. And magical is also 1 week. And yeah, week, season, year. There we go. Let's do it like this. Yeah, this feels good. One day, 1 week. I know that for a fact. Legendary, I'm good with that. Rare and very rare. Yeah, I'm good with that. That feels good. For consumable items and then magical. And then we have like the caveats like an artificer, for example. If an artificer has the plans for it and takes downtime off adventuring for the duration, instead of it being the permanent magical item time for duration, it would become the consumable duration. So like a 9th level artificer that takes direct hand in creating a rare magic item. If the Bastion does it on its own and they're 3rd rank, it would take the Bastion 1 season. They'll hand the item to you. There you go. If the characters or if the characters are involved, they can make the ability check and add the Bastion die to their own ability check. But you wouldn't be able to use like Bardic Inspiration, for example, because that's a 10-minute duration. This takes an entire season. You can't sustain that Bardic Inspiration die the entire season. So instead, that's why you invest resources, so you get that extra die bonus to make sure that you hit the DC needed to craft these. And like we were talking about before, if you fail the check, you still get the item. There's a complication, and you can clear that, or you can ignore the complication and get the magic item on time, but it has a flaw, it has a like an artifact detriment. So your choice. You can either get it as is with a flaw, or you can delay getting it until you resolve the complication. And you decide that when you make the die roll. You make the die roll as soon as you issue the order, so you know if it's going to succeed or not. So during the next week, month, next week, season, or year, you can decide, is this something that we want to resolve as a complication, or are we just going to let it slide on its own? So there's that. So we have magic item creation time. Let's go just with crafting duration there, and then we have duration, and then we also have consumable items, magical items, and there's non-magical, and that is 10 GP per day, 100 GP per week, 400 GP per season, 4,000 GP per season, 40,000 GP per season, and then 200,000 GP per year. Let's just drop that to 4K, 40K, 200K. So this is the time it takes to create consumable items. This is the time it takes to make magical items of the corresponding rarity. And then if it's a non-magical item, if the item that you're making costs 10 gold pieces or less, it takes a day. Or like in the case of common magic items, that's literally what the DMG says. You can create basically the cost of the gold piece in the DMG. The time to create something, crafting time, is the gold value divided by 10 equals number of days needed to craft the item. So like a 40,000 gold piece airship would, according to those rules, require 4,000 days to build, which would be like 13 years. So no, it'd be 30. It would be. Why am I blanking on that? That'd be 4,000. That's 10 years. 11 years. Yeah, it'd take 11 years to build an airship. That's wrong. So the larger your facility is, like a shipyard. If you have a shipyard and it's like a 5th rank facility, it would certainly be able to generate a 40k GP, but you can build it in a season. You could build it in a season instead of 11 years, because you have the workforce and resources to be able to generate something that's 40,000 gold pieces in one season. That's how we have this set. So this allows us to have easier crafting rules, that if your characters want to take down time to do these things, they can expedite the process, like taking a week off to create a rare magic item. That's not unrealistic. That's reasonable for most campaigns to do something like that. If you want a legendary magic item and you take a 3-month break to build it because you specialize in doing so, that's reasonable for most campaigns. So only the most breakneck of WotC adventures will you not have the time built into your campaign to be able to perform those tasks. I don't feel like I organized this information well. I feel like I could organize it better. Maybe it should be. I'm gonna just play with structure a little bit. Maybe it should be rank of Bastion, and maybe so then we have, again, consumable, magical, and non-magical. We can have maybe we do it like this: consumable. Oh, maybe this is the way to do that. Magical and non-magical. And then we'll have rarity. We'll have value and duration. There we go. Value. Maybe this is the right way to do that. And then value, duration. Let's try it this way. This will tell us what rank you can be to be able to create something. Value is common 10. One day. Uncommon, rare, very rare, like that. This is probably gonna work out. I just want to have a single chart that you can look at, like what rank is my Bastion, what kind of consumable items can I make, or effective gold value. Oh wait, that's right. $10 GP per day. uncommon slash 1 week. 1 week slash 1 season. Let's try this at first. Legendary, very rare, UNCO. One year, 1 season, 1 season, 1 week. That's the way to do it. Day. Yeah. This is the way. There you go. 10 per day. And then, yeah, I think then we need to have... 10 GP per day, 100 GP per week. 400 GP per 4K GP per 40K GP per 200K GP per year. Season, week. Let's do it. Let's do it this way. Let's see. Bastion rank. Non-magical. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4, 3, 2, 1. This is the proper way. It's just a little goofy on the table. Value, there it is. Value, duration. Rarity. Duration. This is the way. There we go. Rarity. Duration. Empowering. Create magic items. Craft and harvest. Create non-magical items. Because the rarity of an item. I'm thinking through. I feel like there's a pocket here. Each order issued can create one value, duration, create non. Oh, there we go. Production, mass. Hey, don't know what's going on. Mass production equals total value of items correspond on the what am I trying to say? You can create multiple items by combining the total cost and creating in that frame of time based on rank. For example, a first rank Bastion, a first rank weaponsmith can create one times 10 GP sword per day, or 10 times per day, or 10 times 10 GP swords per week, 100 GP. This is horribly written, but we'll figure it out. A second rank weaponsmith can create 40 times 10 GP swords per week, 400 GP. So hopefully that makes sense. That's basically how it breaks down. So the rank of guild that you are sets the cap value of thing that you can make, you can make per week, and then the duration and seasons. I'm thinking since common and uncommon magic items I need uncommon consumable items to be able to be made in one day to keep the curve smooth. I don't think there are any legendary consumable items, but this opens the door to allow us to have them. And we have like mana crystals in the Martial Powers book, and if you crush a mana crystal, it'll give you 6 mana, and then it's destroyed. Maybe taking an entire season to build one of those would be kind of a waste of time. Let's see, but I'm thinking. We can, let's see. How about mass production? You can create multiple consumable and non-magical items by combining the total cost and creating in the time in that up to the maximum value the Bastion can create. And then over here we have magic item value. There we go. This will work out Consumable. Magical. Rarity. Common. I think this might be the best way to organize this. Uncommon. How you doing today? Uncommon, rare, very rare, and then a legendary. That is 50 versus 100, 200 versus 400, 2,000 versus 4,000, 20,000 versus 40,000, and 100,000 versus 200,000. There. Create non-magical items. So harvest, craft, empower. This seems to be the proper way. Nice. Okay, I think that basically resolves the scaffold for how making any item in the game works now. So we can take anything in the game and suss out how long it would take to build it. For example, if a castle is 250,000 gold, it would take a year for 200,000, and it's 250. So it would take a year and 2 seasons. So we would be able to build that basically in a year and a half. With a 5th rank organization that could do it. A 4th rank organization would be able to create that 250,000 seasons to 40K times 5. That's 5 seasons plus an extra season. That's 6 seasons. So yeah, a 4th or a 5th rank organization can create a 250,000 castle, a 250,000 gold castle in the that'd be 200,000, 240 plus 1, 5, 6, 7. This would take a 4th rank organization, 4th rank Mason Bastion would be able to create it in 7 seasons, while this one would take 6 seasons. So, was that 18? No, 20, 23, 21 months versus 18. There you go. So a little bit faster at the 5th, and that seems appropriate. So sometimes 4th would be able to keep up. Yeah. So yeah, if the thing costs, if the gold piece value, but then the DC would get higher. So I don't have structures, but we could build out structures. I don't have them currently, but that'll be in the settlement section. So we can get to that. And something, so maximum gold per day, per week, per season. There's about 10 weeks per season, so that tracks. And then a higher rank guild would be 10 times as productive. That tracks. And then you would ultimately become 5 times more productive versus at this level here, 1st rank, 2nd rank becomes 4 times more productive, 10 times, 5 times. That's okay. That's using the math that's already in the DMG for the gold value for magic items. So that's good. I'm okay with that. It's not a perfect pattern, but I'm pretty happy with it. Let's see. Thinking things through. Yeah. So I like that idea about settlements. So let's just go down here. I'm just gonna pencil that in here real quick, just so I can keep it on my radar. Settlements, maintain order equals. Let's see. Creating structures in settlements. Value of structure sets the DC. If the... Oh, that's the way to do it. If the cost exceeds the rank of Bastion, multiple checks are required to avoid complications. So you could have a first rank Bastion attempt to create a 250,000 gold castle, but they have a cap of 100 gold per week. So it would literally take those 10 dudes decades to make a castle, and that makes sense because the size of the a bastion has a population limit 1/10 the size of a settlement. So let me just pencil that in here real quick. Bastion, hireling count, rank, hirelings. There. So in this instance, we'd have if you had a settlement that was building a castle, you could potentially have 100 people that were building it. Sure. Settlements have more people in that territory because it's a permanent place where people go and live and produce things. While a bastion could be a shop, it could be a guild, it could be a pirate boat, it could be anything. It's not required to be in a specific. Your bastion could be inside somebody else's settlement. Like you can have a pub in Waterdeep as your bastion. Your pub as a second rank could have maximum hirelings. Hey, what's up? Reminds me of that castle in France that had been rebuilt by volunteers and it's taken decades. Oh my God. I did not know that happened. That's right. You're in England, so you know Europe stuff. I'm in America and I don't know shit. But that's awesome. Wow, what a great world example. That's awesome. Thank you. I'm glad we have a reference there. Bastion count, generally the number of hirelings in your bastion, working, devoted, assigned, invested, working your bastion. Generally, the number of hirelings working your bastion is determined by the rank of the bastion. There, rank, hireling. Settlements are bastions that develop into communities. Generally, the number of the population of the settlement. Generally, the population is determined by the rank of the settlement. This would be 100,000 plus. Because down here it's 100,000. 10,000, 100, 1,000, 10,000, and this would be 10K plus. There you go. So anything over 10,000, which could be in the millions. But if like on Ravnica, for example, there's 10 guilds that rule Ravnica. Ravnica is the entire planet. The entire planet is populated as a city in different levels of repair. And there's 10 guilds that control the entire planet. There are millions of people on that planet. Each guild, generally, the guilds are like 1/10 of the population. So generally a guild is going to have somewhere between 100,000 and 1 million members. I don't think they have a total set population on Ravnica, but those numbers generally track. So, yeah, this maths out pretty good. Waterdeep has a population of up to 1 million people, 100,000 of which are generally like maybe 100 to 200,000 are permanent, I think, residents, while the rest of them are transients, people coming and going, doing business, either from the outlying communities that are feeding into Waterdeep, or trade and tourism coming and going from Waterdeep itself. So these numbers generally track. Let's hold on. Let's double check that. Population of Waterdeep. Waterdeep's population is 140,000. Oh, okay, I don't mind being wrong, but the numbers still track. The population of the city itself is approximately 130,000, but more than 1 million people make their homes within Waterdeep's territory. The city sprawls northward from the sea, spreading along the flanks of Mount Waterdeep, a great and singular mountain. There you go. So, yeah, up to 1 million people in the surrounding communities outside of the city itself. So the city's control zone is about 100 miles away from it, which tracks. So, cool. I just needed to double check that real quick. So settlements work, Bastion hireling count. Maybe we can put that up here at the front end of the document to reduce the amount. Gold, orders. There we go. Hirelings. $10, $100, $1,000. Plus. There we go. What's up? Castle's called Geladon Castle. No need to interrupt the project. Yeah. I'll check back in the stream and check it out. If you're on the Discord, drop it in there just as a reference, if you wish. So we have the 7 types of orders, 3 of which: harvest, crafting, and empowering create stuff, which is sadly also titled crafting. Boy, I wish they had thought of something different. Item creation. That feels okay. Bastions can issue orders to create. Yeah, there you go. Can issue items to create magical and non-magical. Great. Yeah, that's the proper title. Item creation is the proper title here, because it's already referenced inside of the text itself, which is a good indication. If the title of an idea or a section is inside of the text describing that section, that's generally a good title. If your title is completely disassociated with anything that you're actually talking about that describes it, it creates a disconnect. So that's just a design. That's just a design element worth mentioning. Item creation, got that. Got dunk. Harvesting, there we go. Got that resolved. So I'm sussing things through. Hold on. Specific orders. Item creation. Let's see. What my brain is locking on right now is how do we determine if your Bastion is properly equipped to create something? The way that it's presented in the DMG is that each facility allows you to create specific items, like an armory. Here you go. Trade, stock armor. When you issue the trade order facility, you commission the facility's hirelings to stock the armory with armor. You're not even really building them. You're using trade to get them. So let's go down to the smithy and look what that does differently. Craft magic items, craft smith's tools. Anything with smith's tools. Smith's tools, barbarians, buckets. Craft any melee weapon, medium armor, and heavy armor. Okay, that works out. So you can, with a smithy, you can make magic stuff. What do we have that allows us to make that other stuff? Workshop. Carpenter's tools allow us to create craft squans, blahs, glass blowers, leather workers. This should be where the light armor is at. Craft leather armor, studded armor, backpack. There we go. Mason's tools. Mason's tools would logically be stone structures. Potter's tools, jug, lamp. Some of this stuff is incredibly specific. Padded armor for the weavers, that makes sense. Artisan tools. So we should probably block together. We're going to need to block together all the different tools and group those to different specific facilities that we have listed here. That makes sense. So the idea is that, okay, so we already know that if you want to add a Bastion, die to your ability check when taking the D20 test to confirm if you're successful in crafting or not, you can only add a Bastion die if you're proficient in that order. And we talked about proficiency earlier. There's 7 orders. You're automatically proficient with maintain, and then there's 6 other orders that you can become proficient with. Once you're proficient with it, whenever you issue an order using that order that you're proficient with, you can then expend resources to add dice up to the rank of your Bastion. So you could a first rank Bastion could create any item that is within its price range to build or to create, but it has to have. You don't even have to be proficient. You don't necessarily have to be proficient. You don't necessarily have to be proficient in an order to be able to issue that order, but you do have to be proficient with it to be able to invest resources into the die, and you have to be proficient with that order to invest in to have a facility that has that order as a prerequisite. So. The storehouse, for example, requires either crafting, harvesting, or trade to be able to have a storehouse. And once you have a storehouse, it holds materials that can then be used to craft stuff on demand without having to gather the resources first to do, without having to gather the material first to do it. You have a storehouse, so the materials are already on hand, so that when you issue the order to craft something, you already have the materials and the knowledge to be able to do it. So that means that you would need to have a storage facility to do that, and you would need to have the appropriate type of Bastion facility to create that item inside. So that then begins the process of us breaking down all the things that you can build in the game, what tools are required to build them, and what facilities are associated with each of them. That sounds like a lot. That sounds like a lot. So, but But the good news behind this is that once we have that established, then the different, like the armory and smithy, those just become descriptors, because we already have the template for what you can build in what time frame at whatever rank your Bastion is at. So we have that scaffold in place. Now it's just a matter of plugging in all the pieces into all the slots. So it's craft, harvest, and empower are the three type of orders that create things, and each facility will be associated with one or more of those orders. So I think that's how we have to organize that. So, but once we do that, we don't have to specifically talk about, like, if you have the armory facility, you can create this and this and this and this. Instead, it's like, okay, I want to create this thing, and it fits in the armory. It generally fits the description of an armory. I have an armory, or maybe it would generally fit the description of a workshop, and I have one of those. Either way, I can build. So Smith's having a grade range, yeah. Well, the smithy, the workshop, all these things. That's why we built this scaffold, because like if you have a smithy and you're a third-rate smithy, anything that you can make in a smith's shop, it could be up to 4,000 gold pieces in value that you can create per season, or you can create something of a very rare value that's either consumable or magical, and the time it takes to do that. Here you go. Rare equals 1 week for a consumable item, or 1 season for a permanent magic item. Higher grade, better, or more items. Exactly. And more items we covered in mass production, which is you can create multiple consumable or non-magical items by combining the total cost up to the maximum value the Bastion can create. So a first rank weaponsmith can do 1 gold piece per day, or 10 gold pieces per week. 1 per day, first rank, 10 per week. This table, this is us. I need to create a little bit more space here, because I don't want they're currently under the same heading, and I need to break that. So hold on. Craft and harvest, empower. I should actually probably have, well, do I need to nitpick and actually put that down here? Yeah, it would be better organized if I did have it down here. So let's just do that. Just give me a second here to reorganize this. When we break this into an actual document, we'll be using floating tables and stuff. Nope, don't need that. Do need that. There. Because like the book provide, maybe we only just need to provide examples. Like, we don't have to list like literally everything in the book, but I mean, if we really wanted to go over the top, we would. There we go. Craft, harvest, and then mass production. You can create multiple consumable and non-magical items. B. Good. Hey, what's up? Hey, David. Not stuck. It's just it's the I think I'm girding my willpower to suss through. So we have it's where we're at right now is all of the different, and welcome back to the mix, man. We have all of the different facilities in the document already, and as the DMG, just to reiterate, the way that the DMG has it presented, that each facility allows you to make specific things. But what we're trying to do is disintegrate that barrier of entry and make it a little bit more free floating, so that you and players and DMs can decide, if we want to make a magic item, what kind of facilities do we need to have to create each magic item? I don't like for example, the garden allows you to make common poisons, while the greenhouse allows you to make uncommon poisons, like common poisons being up to 100 gold pieces in value, uncommon poisons being up to 400 gold pieces in value, rare being up to 4,000 gold pieces in value. So that's like the laboratory and the greenhouse can actually make things up to rare value, because like some of these poisons are like 600 gold pieces, which exceeds the 400 gold piece limit of what an uncommon item is. Though it's drastically less than 4,000, it's still technically a rarity. Like it still has technically the rare level of rarity. So the way that DMG is, it's very specifically parsing, you can only make these things with the workshop. The workshop is a creative space where you use items, artisan tools. The workshop comes equipped with 6 different kinds of artisan tools. Choose them from the list below. And then craft options, when you use the issue order, choose one of the following. See, even though it's equipped with all of this stuff, you can only make a very limited number of items. So the idea would be, like, if you have a workshop, you could do a huge array of stuff. So we don't have to be limited to just these things. What we want to do instead is you need to be proficient. I'm going to actually peel this out into its own document, into its own window. The way that we have it sitting is that all you need to do is be of a certain rank to be able to create items of a value or rarity of magic item. But then you wrap it in the narrative of what facilities do you have. So like a workshop is just basically a placeholder that says, I have a workshop and I can build all of this stuff in there. Or you could theme it around like, I have an armory and I can build all of these things in that armory. And I want to try to reduce it so it's not a Mother May I list. Instead, it's a narrative space where it's like, because what you actually need is proficiency in the order needed to create the thing that you want, which will either be crafting, harvesting, or empower. And facilities are then the place where you make those things. But those facilities don't necessarily limit what those things are. But they should probably, to a degree, to give them, like for example, if you're going to use you wouldn't use the harvesting a harvesting order in a smithy, because you craft in a smithy. A workshop would be crafting and empowering. A smithy could be crafting and empowering. A greenhouse could be harvesting and empowering. So that's all. Maybe that's all we really need. That's all we have to do to be able to express that. So then it just becomes a list of narrative places that can do these things. So if you want to do all those things, you probably just need a smithy, a workshop, and like a garden. That might be all the 3 things that you actually need as facilities to be able to craft anything that you want. I think that might be a good way of doing it. But if you want to make an airship, you don't need, you would need a workshop, but that workshop is going to have to be fucking massive. So you would need to have a location, which would probably be shipyard requires a settlement. There you go. So crystal refinery would be a binding a refinery. I haven't gotten so far into converting the harvesting process. We have listed as a gold mine is a way to harvest minerals to be able to craft metallic items, for instance. So it's technically it's the harvesting order in a settlement that has the materials that you want. So if you want to have a crystal refinery, you would just need to have some place to harvest those crystals. I guess you could, crystals naturally form, but I guess you could have a lab of some sort, like a demiplane. You could have maybe a demiplane where you could create crystals inside of, for instance. But then, yeah, empowering, to make mana crystals. Yeah, exactly. Empowering and harvesting to be able to cultivate the crystals, and then while you're cultivating them, empowering them over however much time it takes to do it. So that would be that process. So I think, thank you. Walking through this shit and talking about it over and over again helps me understand the framing that's involved with it. So. Let's see. Facilities and orders. Maybe this might not be the best way to frame it, but this is how we're going to try. Facilities and orders. To create an item, you need the corresponding order. You need proficiency to create an item. Your Bastion needs proficiency in the corresponding order and order and facility as listed below. So that is not the right way to word this. What this does, the way that I worded this now puts me on the hook to list every item that's in the game and define, is it crafting, is it empowering, or is it harvesting? And of those skills, of those orders, which facilities do you need? Maybe I need. So let's think a second before I start throwing shit down. There is the item itself. There's the facility needed, and the order required. So those are the three aspects of creating something, of item creation. So let's think. So what's the best way to organize that? If I organize it by order, the crafting order lets you create these items. Maybe it should be like facilities. Okay, so facilities and orders. To issue an order to create an item, you need facility equipped. Yeah, let's go here. Each facility can be issued item creation orders as listed below. Now we can just go through the facilities and list what each of them are. That's the way to do it. Facility and orders. That's probably the best way to organize that. And hey, look at this. We have a corresponding list right here. That'll make it easy. Jeez, the game design is not easy, man. Like, the idea is there. First there's the idea, and then there's actually manifesting what that idea is. Like dropping the text in there so there's not weird loopholes and unintended interactions. The gist, the intention, the rules as intended, the RAI of these mechanics is very simple. But when you start diving into the specific details, that's where the complexity starts to build. So let's just go through. An arcane study. No, I can't just cutty pasty. Arcane. Wait a second. Do we already have a table that lists what these are? That might simplify our life. Let's go up here to the top of the. Ooh. Yee! Okay, here we go. This will be much faster. Yeah. Nope, not like that. Let's open up a new document. I think this is the way, because then we don't have to list out each facility separately, or we can reduce that facility down to just like a descriptive sentence. So because the scaffolding of item creation resolves what all those things are for us. So the facility, the value of this facility isn't as important. It just becomes the trappings of how these things get built. So yeah. I'm glad you think it's cool. Obviously, I think it's super fucking cool. So let's grind through this here. I'm just gonna press a bunch of buttons. I'm gonna make this up. We don't require prerequisites, just a rank. That's all you need. Down, pop, pop, da, pop, 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 pop. And we don't need a specific rank to have access. Well, we do. There are. Wait, that's not actually true, because there are specific ranks that dictate the stuff that you can have, but it's a lot looser rules than what are already listed here. So let's just finish cleaning up the scaffold here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sacristy only does crafting, huh? Nope, it'll be crafting and empowering. See how that works? T-port. Let's reduce that. Tele circle. So, I got my second copyright certification on my game. Holy crap! Congratulations, man! I got a phone call from the patent and trademark office, and apparently that's a scam. So I had to jump off the. I walked away in the middle of stream because I was getting a call supposedly from Virginia. And it turns out it was the patent office never, ever calls. So don't give them any information. And luckily, sadly, they already had all of the information that was in the application. And they were, quote unquote, calling to verify information, and then wanted me to pay a $500 fee to finalize the trademark. And they wanted it over the phone. I'm like, this sounds like a really weird thing, and why would you collect that over the phone? If this is a legitimate operation, as a bureaucrat, you should be happy that I'm saying send me an email with all this information in it. And they already had an email address, so I didn't have to give them anything. And their response was, okay. And that was the end of the call. And I haven't heard anything from them since. So apparently their scam failed. So I'm really happy that I followed my intuition, that it felt weird. It kind of sucks that information gets put onto a public forum someplace for people to fetch, but hey, what isn't already public? So cheers to that. Yeah. It was, that was, I used to work at Chase Bank credit card company. I worked on in the fraud department. I did fraud investigations and fraudulent applications. So we would track trends of organizations opening false accounts and stuff like that. It was a lot of fun. Chase used to have an excellent culture about fighting fraud, but then they got bought out by Bank One. They kept the name Chase because it had more recognition, but Bank One had more lax policies involving fraud verification, so half of the department got laid off. I survived the transfer, but I hated how the culture was changing, so I quit and got into mutual funds and insurance instead. Did that for a few years before moving to Seattle, and then got into marketing. Let's see. Okay, so now we have all these listed out here. Which ones are actually relevant? Armory, garden. So yeah, library wouldn't be in there. So we're just going to extract the things that aren't. Sanctuary. If they list it as crafting, then it's going to be valid. So all it needs is craft, harvest, or empower for us to generally consider it. A storehouse is not directly related in creation, though. If you have a storehouse, it holds stuff so that you can immediately do so. Harvest, craft. Get that out of the way. Stables. We were looking at. No, you're not. You're not harvesting through a stable. A stable holds animals that already exist. That'd be like fields or something. I mean, it would be harvesting. Stable isn't the right. Stable doesn't feel like the right way to work. We can like put in pastures. We can introduce our own shit. So we'll probably just end up doing that. Yeah, armory shouldn't have to be trade. Let's barracks. Let's put stable back in here, and reframe it as harvesting. That feels legit. Teleportation circle, theater and training area. Neither one of those things are actually like empowering items. Trophy room, archive. Neither one of those are actually creating anything. The meditation chamber isn't actually creating anything. The observatory isn't actually creating anything. The menagerie is kind of like a stable in which it could be observatory. Archive. Pub. Reliquary, yes. Menagerie, yes. Demiplane, no. I see the text. Give me a second. Guild Hall is a no. Sanctum is a yes for empowerment, and War Room is a no. There we go. That's our stack. Storehouse is not harvesting. Storehouse is a meta facility. The way that here, I'll show you. A storehouse. Get through all of these. Storehouse. Starting at first rank, you maintain inventory of material gained from trade or harvesting to craft and empower items. The amount of resources required to maintain storage is equal to the maximum rank of craft, harvest, or empower order you issue. So if it's a first rank crafting that you're attempting, I guess it would technically be like 100, 400, 4,000, 40,000, 200,000. It would actually be like the value, the number of resources that it takes to hold that amount of material to be immediately available. And then at first, a first ranked storehouse can only hold one type of material. So you'd actually have to have 3 separate storehouses because they're just too small to hold different things. Second rank can hold 2 different types of material, and 3 all types of materials. And when we say material, we aren't slicing it any thinner than vegetable, animal, and mineral. Like if you have mineral storage, it means you can put gold, iron, copper, marble. Doesn't matter. It's inert material. If it's animal, then it could be living creatures. That's it. A stable is a storehouse for living creatures. That makes sense. So instead of stable, anyway, let me get rid of that F on the screen. Does that make sense? So if you invest in having a storehouse, so when you issue the order to create something, you don't have to go get the material, you already have it. So anything that you want to create, you have to think, what kind of materials do I need? If I want to make leather armor, I definitely need animal material because of leather. If it's If you have padding in it, that could be plant material like cotton or linen. And then if you have buckles on it, that would be minerals. So to make armor, you might need to have all three things. But I'm wondering how far into the weeds do I need to make that? That's going to be the next level of difficulty of like how do we need to only have like one major type of material needed to create something, and then the rest of it's like incidental as like just common. What's your thoughts? Harvesting is such a bulk term used here. Need one more keyword like processed. I don't want to get. It's already fairly complicated, so I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. And working in threes is really easy to remember. Fours is a little bit more difficult. So I like just plant material can be harvested, and the act of harvesting also is processing it. I see what you're saying. It's not technically crafting, so harvesting as an act of creation, it would be harvesting. But the act of gathering the material is also harvesting. Like harvesting minerals, harvesting animals, harvesting vegetation. That would be taking it from a settlement and then putting it into your storehouse as material to use, that's where your refinery comes in. If you have a storehouse that's capable of holding minerals, then it's assumed that it's also able, between the settlements where the material is harvested from and storing it, that smelting process would occur inside of there. I think that because I don't want to have. There's the raw material, there's the processing the raw material, and then there's building the raw material. That is a set of three. I see what you're saying there. Because the only two ways you can get material is harvesting and trade. Harvesting is you get it yourself, and trade is you somebody else gets it for you, and you get it from them. So a storehouse could require a gold upkeep, but gets treated like a bad. Gold upkeep is assumed by resources. You have so many resources in your bastion, and you either spend those resources to increase the ability checks that you make to succeed at an order, or you hold those. You reserve those resources to sustain, like concentrating on a haste spell. You would maintain concentration on having your storehouse as part of your bastion. So you're like siloing those points off to permanently maintain that facility as something that you always have. So if you have a storehouse and you like put 5 ranks into it, then you'll have literally any resources that you want. You will immediately have available to create whatever it is that you want, because the background, like the background machinations of maintaining a lifestyle for your bastion, like subsumes and overrides individual actions of like spending X amount of gold to get this material, blah blah blah. You have to every bastion turn, you have to make a lifestyle check that will determine the level of lifestyle that you're maintaining your facility. And the higher level of lifestyle that you maintain, the higher level of materials you automatically have available to your characters. So what we should do is in the facilities, when we're looking at the storehouse, it should be rank, resources. It should be value. That's the missing piece. The value is 100, 400, 4K, 40K, 200K. So if you're a third rank guild, if you're a third rank bastion, you can invest up to 3 resources to basically permanently lock in the material that you need for up to 4,000 gold worth of stuff, or basically you would automatically have, like, once you have a third rank storehouse, you can automatically assume you have all the materials needed to create anything up to 4,000 gold in value. And while you're maintaining those resources, they automatically are replaced and restocked as they're used. Whenever you succeed at a task, it restocks. When you fail on a crafting check, one of the complications could be you should have the materials necessary, but they aren't there. You've been robbed and you didn't know about it. For instance, as a complication, you now need to resolve that complication. Someone's stealing from you. That might be a low-ranked task for you to perform. You can send out low-level characters to find out who did it, or it could be a huge problem and you need a high-level team to take care of it. But that is one of the complications that we can be dealing with. But how are the parts sorted? Storehouses could require a gold upkeep, but gets treated like a Bastion-sized component pouch. Yeah, basically. Yeah. Then any active harvesting reduces or removes the passive costs. The passive costs are absorbed into the lifestyle that you maintain for your organization. It's just back. And it doesn't even like if you roll really high and you have an extravagant lifestyle, that just means the market is good right now. You're not only able to harvest and process and maintain all the resources that you need, but you're also able to easily sell those resources to generate wealth that allows that die roll to result in a higher level of lifestyle. When you make your roll and it's a shitty result, that means that the market is bare. And although you're able to maintain your resources, there isn't a lot left over for you to have a lavish lifestyle, so you have to take a hit. You can also permanently invest points to sustain a lifestyle for a period of time. But the simple act of running the Bastion, it becomes a background task of not having to keep account for how is this process actually being material? How fast can you process? Like how fast can you quarter a cow carcass? Like how fast can you clean it? How well are you salting the meats and storing them? Like all of that just becomes a part of maintaining the Bastion, which just becomes a single die roll, which says how you did it so efficiently. This is how much extra gold you get as a result of all of that. So like the gold refinery, for instance, you don't have to have like an actual refinery shop. Though if we developed a Bastion that was a refinery, it would be like a gold refinery, iron refinery, copper refinery. It would just be a generic refinery that could process different materials or different types of ore. And you don't worry about that level of detail, because at some point you have to stop, right? I mean, we could get down to like, I now have to like, at what point am I codifying in the 5e game engine how genetics work? So when I have the Simic Combine modifying your character, I could just say you can just use Alter Spell at will while you're at your Bastion facility. You can alter genetics as you need. When you leave your facility, you're stuck with as you are, for instance. And that could just be resolved as Alter Self as a spell, instead of grinding through what's genetics, how are we actually modifying the DNA of the creature that we're altering. See, at some level, you have to stop with the granulization, because the gamification requires rules, but it becomes too simulationist if you go too deep into the equation. So I think I'm at a point where it has enough crunch that you can pull, like you can turn dials and pull levers, but it's not so deep that players will bounce off of it. So that's where you get to deep simulation, like economy simulators. I'm not trying to simulate the economy. We're trying to make all of that just background radiation, so you can just resolve it with a single die roll without having to think it through. But you can think it through if you want to get that intense in detail. So like, you don't have to worry about a refinery until you decide that something's going on with a refinery that would be a cool adventure. So that can become a complication. So like, having the refinery on site with wherever the mine is at would probably be the most efficient way of doing it. So I have a settlement that's built out of a mine and it has a refinery. I have a pasture for cows, and the slaughterhouse is located there on site as well. So there's no shipping carcasses off someplace to be processed into rations, for instance. We have the harvesting operation. We can just automatically convert cows into rations if we need. Like, that's the intent. So maybe that won't be satisfying to deep simulationers, but I think that's a level. I think that's a level of gamification that will feel good. At least it has been. It's felt good in the playtesting that I've been doing for the past 10 months. So, are you using population numbers to assist with the number of crafters? There's a default number of. Yes, the answer is yes, but it's also nebulous. So, going back up here. Settlements and bastions. Bastion hireling count. So generally, the number of hirelings working your bastion is determined by the rank of the bastion. Larger ranks equals, you don't have to have 10,000 hirelings if you have a 5th rank organization. You could just have 10 hirelings that are just incredibly skilled. So this is like generally the maximum amount that you might have. So the DM can like ballpark. If I have a 3rd rank bastion, how many people could I realistically have associated with that? And at 3rd rank, you could realistically have up to 1,000 people that are scattered and doing things, or you could have a much smaller, tight-knit operation. That's a narrative element. And then settlements have roughly 10 times the amount. So and we looked up earlier, Waterdeep corresponds with the Metropolis numbers that we currently have listed here. So those do jive as per D&D, and it just feels realistic. So yeah, these are great questions. But yeah, those are answered. So we have that. And it also has the area, the radius of influence that the settlement has. Like a hamlet's only going to have a handful, like up to a population of 100. Like that's the max population that a hamlet would have. Anything more than that, and you're probably looking at a village. So in that 2-mile area, you could have a number of farms or just a collective, like maybe a dozen or so. So yeah, ballparking numbers. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, great. So we were here and we were looking at separations. So an armory is not, we're shifting that. So let's grab the originals here. I'm going to save this real quick. File, save as, in command. Bundle. Let's create a new folder. Bastion campaign. DMG facilities per book. Per DMG. Yeah, DMG facilities plus orders. Now we're file. Yeah, so I can grab this and I can grab these. Item creation, facilities, facility, order, and item. How about that? Can we do this better? Order is crafting, harvesting, and thank you, Tommy Timer. What time is it? It's 11:30. Holy shit, time flies. We got another 40 minutes. We're doing okay. Order and item is consumable, magical, and non-magical. There you go. Armory is going to be crafting and empowering. This is, I can make a chart. I can make a one-page chart out of this. This is going to work. We can make, so here we can make magical and non-magical items. Garden is empowering and harvesting. And we can create consumable and consumable magic items and non-magical items. Permanent magic items, I think that would generally bend away from... I don't feel like harvesting like plant materials, animal materials are permanent items. That feels more like consumable stuff, like rations, potions, poisons. So I'm going to group them that way. A sanctuary would currently be listed as crafting and empowering, both common, consumable, magical, and technically, do we call holy water non-magical items? Poisons are technically non-magical, so I guess that would be yes. A smithy could be used to craft and empower. C and E. We should probably do it that way. C and E. E and H. C and E. M. N. C. N. C. M. N. I'm okay with that. Yeah, that feels good. And then for a smithy, consumable generally doesn't seem to make sense. Magical, yes, and non-magical, definitely. A workshop could be definitely crafting, definitely empowering. Harvesting doesn't feel right there. It workshop, but a laboratory consumables, harvesting, yes. So that's the difference. So C, M, and N for all of those. A greenhouse would be E and H, and then it would be consumable and non-consumable, non-magical items. Laboratory would be C, E, and H. Yeah, I think that feels right. No, wait, hold on. Workshop, C and E. Laboratory, crafting. Are we making permanent things with laboratory, or are we just making temporary things with magic items? But it could be C, E, E, H, and C, M, N. I like that being all three. That feels right. I don't know. What do we think? Laboratory being crafting, or is it specifically empowering and harvesting for a laboratory? EH feels right, and we have more CEs versus EHs, so I'm just going to lean that into EH. Yeah, let's just do that. And then we'll go C, E. I want to say sacristy is going to be all three of them. Consumable, magical, and non-magical. Let's just go with that. Scriptorium, C and E. That's going to be consumable and CMN. That feels right so far. Stables. You'll be harvesting non-magical materials. No, because it's really just material. I think stables isn't supposed to be a crafting thing. I think stables should be up here. That feels right. That feels right. And so thus does also a menagerie. Let's push that up. A reliquary, yeah, that makes sense. Reliquary, C, E, and H. And consumable, magical, and non-magical. Because we like a spell focus is technically not a magic, like it's not a magical item. You don't have to, maybe you should have to have empowerment to do that. We can go back and we can look at that. Sanctum. I don't think we actually create anything in a sanctum. Let's double check. What does the sanctum do? Let's double check what it looks like. Yeah, let's hash through some of these. May want to listen to the book. You may want to listen to the book, The Greatest Guild. Huh. Are you using population numbers? Neat. Is that like a piece of fiction? Or is that some sort of a game supplement or something? A sanctum, you can make a charm. A sanctum recall. That's okay, yeah, that's not actually crafting. That's like a spell effect that you put on people. That's different. Empowering is like is imbuing people, creating things. Sanctum, sanctum. Because you can if you maintain resources, you can grant characters skills, tool proficiencies, weapon masteries, weapon proficiencies, feats, saving throw bonuses, feats, saving throw. Yeah. I think that feels right. Item creation facilities, CE 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Oof. I could either take 2 of the CEs and make them all 3, or I can take both of these CEHs and make them just EH, or I could do one of each. I think I'm more leaning towards making 2 of the EHs universal. So that's going to resolve the laboratory question, right? So there's that. CEH. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh wait, I went the wrong way. I actually need to make CEs into CEHs to reduce. Meh. CEEH CE. Wait a sec. Let's look at Sanctuary real quick. Let's even verify if this does craft things. Craft Sacred Focus. Make a holy symbol. What about a sacristy? Do we also make holy symbols there? Magic items, relics, holy water. Magic items. Why can I make a why can I make a relic here, but the reliquary I can only make a talisman? Does that feel weird to you? That feels weird to me. That feels really weird. Sanctuary. Let's look at Sanctuary real quick. Sanctuary charm. Crafting focus. Yeah, I want the sanctuary there because that covers the druid. So I need to have a sanctuary in place. I feel like the reliquary and the sacristy are duplicates. But they both exist inside the DMG, so I can't just delete it. So that doesn't make sense. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3. Can I convert? No, yeah. Druid shit? Yeah. CEH. That makes sense. For the sanctuary for druid, there we go. Sacristy, reliquary. Reliquary is, I believe we're calling reliquary arcane. Sacristy is divine. And the sanctuary is druidic. And then smithy, workshop, greenhouse, martial. But yeah, the sacristy, the reliquary, and the sanctuary are specifically magic stuff focused. workshop, greenhouse. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Huh. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Scriptorium. Laboratory. That's an EH. Shit. Garden. EH. Armory. CE makes sense. Smithy. CE makes sense. Workshop. CE. I can see workshop. Workshop's a pretty general thing. I mean, we can make carpenter's tools, and carpenter's is wood. Wood is harvesting. There we go. So, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It might not be perfect, but it works. So I'm happy with that. These are balanced. I don't think we need more than 10 orders. I mean, I think 10 facilities. I think that's plenty for crafting. I think we could probably, like, building ships, workshop. And if we want to make a ship, we'll just have to have a facility that's large enough to handle that, either inside of somebody's settlement that's along the water line or our own settlement. So these all require physical locations, a settlement, either our own or inside of somebody else's. It's harvesting material that requires our own facility, our own settlement to be able to harvest from. And trade, we can get materials without having a settlement. That's the difference between harvesting and trading. Trading gets us materials without having to maintain it ourselves, while harvesting requires us to maintain a location from which we can get materials. That's the difference there. It's a book on YouTube. Oh, okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check back on the stream to catch up on all this stuff. Thanks for the references, man. So let's look at the consumable, magical, and non-magical. Let's see if how, quote, thing blank balances. 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 10, 8, 8. Armory, consumable items doesn't make sense. Garden, consumable items makes sense. And consumable, I know it doesn't necessarily mean ingested. It's just something that gets destroyed in the process of being used. And armory doesn't feel like that in general. Although I could let go of the idea of like specific item types and just let you build anything out of these things. If I got rid of item classifications, that simplifies the process. Oh, like there's ammunition. Ammunition is consumable items. I forgot about that. So that's actually really fucking important. And I could make a hemp necklace that's permanent, so that would work. Yeah, we just need to get rid of the item classification altogether. Let's just ditch that. This is going to simplify the world a lot. There we go. Item creation facilities. Craft. Power. Harvest. Yes. This jives. Double checking. Let's look what a reliquary is again. Carved statuette, tiny, non-magical. 7 days, cost no money. Talisman, place of spells, materials, component. Yeah, okay, I'm good with that. Okay, cool. Yeah. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we got 20 minutes left. So far, so good. So let's get back into our document here. We can go back up here to the top. Orders, craft, empower, harvest. Crafting, trade, or consumption. There are 4 types of materials. Issuing orders. Item creation, craft and harvest, empower, mass production. Each facility can be issued item creation orders as listed below. There we go. Beep. Item creation, that is a 16. Craft and harvest, empower, mass production, facilities and orders. Each facility can be issued item creation orders as listed below. Boop, boop, boop. To create items, your Bastion needs your Bastion must have facilities capable of performing completing the order. Each facility to create items, your Bastion must have facilities capable of doing so. To create any specific item, your Bastion must have facilities capable of doing so. Each facility can be issued. Each facility is equipped. Each facility is able. No, maybe that's the right way we're going. Each facility listed below can be issued. Each facility, can be issued item creation orders as listed. Each facility can be issued item creation orders facility craft players and the DM determines if what item can be created in a facility. Players must consult the DM to determine what items can be created, to determine which facilities can create a particular item. So we have facilities, craft, power, harvest, and maybe example items. Weapons, ammunition, armor, ammunition, armor, shields, weapons. That makes sense, right? Poisons, poison, potions. Let's word it like this. Healing potions, healing potion, poison, rations. Druidic spell focus and magic items. A smithy, armor, shields. Maybe instead of an armory specifically, maybe it would be like adventuring gear. Not sure here yet how I want to word that. But down here we can go with sacristy, we can go with divine, spell focus, and magic items. Arcane, spell focus, and magic items. Maybe C and E. Books, scrolls, magical, books and scrolls. That makes sense. Potions, that made sense. Smithy, workshop, laboratory, sacristy, greenhouse, healing, potion, poison. So, could you just tie it into the 2024 crafting rules, or does that not do enough of the heavy lifting? The only rules that exist in the DMG for crafting is whatever the gold piece value of the thing it is that you want to build. You spend half the gold in materials, and time spent equals divide the gold piece value by 10. So if it's a 4,000 gold piece rare magic item, it takes 2,000 gold that you have to spend to create it, and it takes 400 days to complete making it. There you go. If you have multiple people helping you, I think you can reduce it accordingly. Like if you have 5 people helping you make it, you can take it from 400 days down to 80 days, which is basically a season, which is the time frame that we have listed for a rare magic item to be created. And you have well more than 4 people that are in that establishment to make it for you. So yeah, this provides, the problem is that you don't want to spend 4,000 days making a airship that costs 40,000 gold. And if you have 1,000 guys building it, it shouldn't take 4 days to make that airship. It just, that doesn't quite track. But having normally to spend a season to make it, and if your guild is high enough rank and you invest enough resources, you can reduce that time down to potentially a week. But like it would have to be a 5th rank organization that's dumping like 10 resources into making that happen in a week. So yeah, it's a little clunky. We're trying to bring these things down so they're reasonable and don't have to think that much. So yeah. So similarly to already we have set up using constant times. Yeah. This is just providing this loosely corresponds with the gold piece value and the crafting mechanics, but it kind of codifies it a little bit better by going by a day, week, season, or year, and then being able to collapse those time frames depending on how high of a rank or what resources you have invested in facilities to be able to do so. So yeah, I'm just reiterating that point. Greenhouse, healing potions, workshop, artisan tools. There we go. Artisan tools. Adventuring gear. Vehicles. Yeah, that feels good. Smithy, artisan. No, just artisan tools in general feels like a workshop sort of thing. A smithy uses specific tools. Maybe we should have. Do we need to have a table? Do we have a list of which tools are appropriate to use at that facility? That might be further into the weeds than we really want to go. Do we want to go to that level of depth? We might need to. Laboratory, scriptorum, smithy, workshop. A smithy. It feels like a workshop is such a great catch-all, but I don't want the workshop to create like a lot of. I don't want like generic gear, sure, but like the armors and weapons and stuff. I want that in the armory. Like I want those two things separated. Just because it feels right. Like that's a level of granularity that I think is good. Like just being able to say you can make anything in a workshop, greenhouse, or laboratory. That's certainly simple. But I feel like I want to have more degrees of separation. Greenhouse is basically the same thing as a garden. A laboratory feels kind of like a workshop, but it's more, it's more harvesty, earthy. I would be concerned for the people I have working in a smithy if they were trying to make a sword using garden shears. Truth. Shit. Let's look at the smithy to see what it normally gives us, to see if we can use that to figure something out. Anything with smithing tools and armaments. Armaments. Moontouch sword. Okay. I don't like Armory is trade. We can get rid of armory. Armory is storage. That's what's listed as trade. You can get a stockpile of stuff. Oh, fuck. But that gets rid of our tenfolds. Oof. I like the idea of having 10, but I'm having a hard time separating between smithy and armory, you know? Like, they really feel similar-ish. Armory is specifically making weapons and stuff. Maybe, an armory can make any kind. The level of complexity is irksome. A quarterstaff could be made of metal, but it could also be made of wood. A great club could be stone. It doesn't have to be wood, but often is. Smithy, scriptorium, that's good. Books and scrolls, arcane spell focus, and magic items. Scriptorium could be any kind of scroll. It doesn't have to specifically be arcane, divine, or druidic. I like that. So a sanctuary could make a druidic scroll, but a scriptorium could make any kind of scroll. So there's efficiency there with a little bit of overlap. So taking the idea of overlap in mind, maybe that's what we need to look at for the smithy. So let's go with armor, weapons, armor, adventuring gear, and weapons. Workshop, adventuring. That feels better. Laboratory. God, we have lots of room for brewing potions. Healing potions. How does... We're almost out of time. Let's see. How does the DMG... Player's Handbook, actually. Let's go to the Player's Handbook. 2024. Let's look at equipment and see if it separates food stuff. Adventuring gears, tools, armors, weapons, coin. Okay. Okay. It looks like what we should do then is break down... Fuck. That's a level of granularity I'm concerned about. Like acid, making acid in a laboratory obviously makes sense. Alchemist fire in a laboratory obviously makes sense, but those are like super micro instances of what this stuff is, and that level of granular holy water, that would be like that would be a sacristy that you would create that in. So maybe I'm being too trite with my examples, but okay, that's what we should do. We should go through. What a pain in the ass. But the right way to do this would be to go through all of the items, tools, weapons, and armor that exist in the game and break them down into these 10 facilities as a sort of omnibus example of like everything that's in the PHB. And if you create something that's outside of that, then you have this as a reference guide. That's probably the best way to do that. It's more work. But we can go item by item and go through all those things. That feels like the proper way to do this. This is a start, but then we can also break down the magic items: wands, staffs, rods, implements, armor, wondrous items of various sorts. That should be able to work. Oh, I have working. Yeah, I think that's where we have to do this. I wanted to. God, I've got like 3 minutes left. I had noted in the promotion that this was going to be both item creation rules and complications, but we didn't get to complications today. Luckily, I have Monday and Tuesday off on vacation. I won't be here on Wednesday because it's going to be a holiday. I'm going to spend that with family. Awesome. And I'll be back at work on Thursday, back to my normal routine. But Monday and Tuesday, I have off. So we'll be doing Eberron in the morning like usual. And then Monday night, we'll be doing Martial Powers play testing on my Discord channel, running the Mega Dungeon with 3rd level characters. I hope we have 4 people. But then I've got that block of time between Monday morning and Monday night where I'm not working. So probably like around 12:30 again, we'll come back on and we'll go through Bastions. We'll keep working on the Bastion campaign. I think this is a good structure. It's going to be a lot of stuff, but once we get all those items broken down, I think these 10 facilities are going to be all we need. I'm pretty happy with that. So empowering is not only creating magic items, but it's also buffing the characters for time spent. Like giving them like an inspiration die or giving them a temporary skill, proficiency in a skill or something like that. So empowering is making magic items and modifying your characters, like the actual characters. Harvesting is both gathering materials and crafting items, while crafting currently is just defined as creating magic items and mundane stuff. So it's like item creation. Crafting is just item creation. Empowerment does double duty. Harvesting does double duty. Trade I guess the benefit is that there's like so many things that you're going to like, all the gear that you want is going to all basically be crafting. So that makes sense. I think those feel good being separated. So I think when we come back on Monday, I'm going to put this on hold until Tuesday and Thursday night. And when we come back on Monday, we'll follow through on what we just started, which is complications. So we'll start working on the complications. We have a good scaffold for what facilities are supposed to be. Maybe I'll have some downtime with the family tomorrow while I'm offline, and I can start sorting through all of the different items that can be put into facilities. So maybe I don't have to burn any screen time. Sunday's a weird day because I don't spend any time at the computer, but we do allow tablets and cell phone usage and like watching TV and stuff like that. Like when we're just doing downtime stuff, being on devices is okay. So I like a lot of times I play chess or like backgammon and stuff like that online. But yeah, I could spend some time on Sunday doing this because I can't work on the Eberron book on Sunday because it's not online. It's just on Word. Okay, great. That's where we're at. We are at time. I've got less than a minute to go, so I'm just going to go ahead and kill the alarm. Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Man, I really appreciate you, Domo and Steve, who hopped on. And David, thanks for being back. I really appreciate you guys. Anyone else that's here, that's checking out the stream, thanks a lot. I've got a bunch of books down below. They all have free previews. Check out the stuff that I do. When I publish a book on DMsGuild, it's always a full preview. Because just getting people to look at ideas is difficult enough without paywalling them to do it first. If you like my shit, you'll probably end up giving me money because you want me to keep doing it. You don't want me to quit out of lack of production or whatever. So take what you want. Be involved as you please. Jump into my Discord, link down below as well if you're interested in throwing ideas around. Yeah, I'll see you guys in the future. I'll be back on Monday morning to do more Eberron work. So later.